Hi, good afternoon. My name is Amanda Hartwick. I'm the Special Projects Coordinator at the city. I'm joined on screen by Katie Barron. She's our Director of Engineering. We're here today to talk about Snider Plaza construction. Um, we are also joined on the call by a few representatives from SYB Construction, as well as some other city staff. Katie, will you go ahead and move us forward? I just want to go through a few housekeeping items before I turn it over to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so just a couple of notes. The webinar format has upgraded recently, so it may look a little bit different than you remember the last time. We are going to save all questions until the end of the presentation. So if you'd like to interact with myself and Katie at the end, you can just raise your hand. That feature or function is at the bottom left of your screen. So you can raise your hand and I can unmute you or actually request to unmute you. So what you'll see when I do that is a pop-up in the middle of your screen that says, do you want to unmute? And you can say yes, unmute, or no thanks. So that's how we'll engage the microphone when we're ready for that portion of the presentation. The other way to engage with us and submit questions is to use the question box. So that function is actually in the top right corner of your screen. And you can see in the PowerPoint slide that it's circled there. This looks like a little question box. And then the last way to engage with us is just to contact us. If you think of questions after the fact, Katie's information is there on screen. You're welcome to email her or email myself. And she'll have additional contact information for other staff members at the end of the presentation. And then just one more side note, we are recording the presentation today. So we will make that available on our website after this is done. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Katie and let you begin the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Amanda. Um, Welcome, everybody. This is the very first meeting for our construction project for Snider Plaza Phase 1. So the purpose of this meeting is to walk through that process for the next phase of Snider Plaza improvements. And for those of you that have been involved in our previous meetings, this slide should look a little familiar to you. But for those that have not been involved in that process, I'm going to walk through a little bit of background information and kind of give you some overarching pieces for what this project is and how we got to where we are today. And then I'm going to walk through the meat and potatoes, if you will, of what this construction project is going to look like. Back in 2019, that you see on the top of the screen, our REAP options strategy, we worked with the Catalyst Group and a bunch of neighborhood meetings and what the public, what the general public, what staff, what city council, all the people wanted Snider Plaza to be, and then how we are going to come about getting to that place. When we came up with this approach, we are still at the bottom tier of this cake strategy, as we call it. It does look like a cake, but we are utility project is complete. That we finished that up a couple of years ago. If you'll recall, that was the utility replacement for water and sewer and alley pavement in advance of this project. And since then, we've been working on the overall beautification piece of this project. This is paving and landscaping phase 1. I'm going to get into a little bit here in just a minute why we're calling it phase 1. This includes roadway construction, storm replacement, sidewalk and pedestrian access improvements, fountain improvements, new lighting, new benches, flower beds, trees, pavers, all of the pretty things that we've been talking about for the last couple of years. This is going to be in advance of the phase 2 piece, which is the remainder of the improvements from the concept plan. And this is what the concept plan looks like for this project. The last time we met, we were talking about overarching things of what there were various pieces that were part of this original project. And this is what we took forward to City Council. They ratified this concept plan in July of 2023. We went through an extensive PD amendment process. This is all of Snider Plaza is in PD 1R, and any changes to anything within that and meant we needed to go through planning and zoning, and we did that through the spring of 2023. Had several changes, made some different modifications to the original plan, and then the City Council ratified this in the summer. We then worked towards final plans. But there was one kind caveat to some of these pieces in that all of these pieces on the north end, the sidewalk and some of the parking is in the right of way. So you can see this, there's a blue line throughout here that is where the property line is and where the right of way line is. And you can see from this image that the sidewalk improvements and some of the landscaping piece is in the right of way on both sides of the street. This occurs on a couple of other locations as well. Throughout our concept plan, this piece right here, the realignment is also part of that. We're encroaching on SMU. There's some pieces we have to get here. So the city council needed to get, or the staff needed to get easements for being able to construct public improvements on private property. So with that, we went out, there were 24 parcels we needed to get easements from. And you can see on the screen, we received 10 back as a positive, and those are signed. And we thank, if you are on the line and that was you, thank you so much for your support and for saying yes. We had 4 that were denied. There's actually 2 parcels here and one here and one here that they were not interested in that. And then the light red, this color right here, we either had no response or we could not come to an agreement with some terms from the property owner. So to date, what's shown in green is what we have received authorization to be able to build these and have an easement to do so. That meant that we needed to change and pivot our property. We're still in negotiations with some of these as well. And so it's not it's the process is still ongoing, but in order to advance this piece, the city council, staff recommended and city council agreed to move forward with the parts that we could build that's wholly in our right of way. And you can see that is, excuse me, from Daniel to Rankin, it's the full width across. The property line is up against the face of the building. That includes the fountain. We have all of Milton as part of this project. This piece of Rosedale here, Daniel between the 2 alleys, a section of Westminster here. We have a little bit of Rankin on here to kind of tie in some additional utilities we needed to put in. This line across here is the storm drain. This will only be ditch line replacement. So we will, all of the storm is running into the pipe this way. This is the downhill side. North is over here on this side, by the way. So we are replacing this piece and it will be ditch line pavement, but it's wholly in the right of way and will not be repaving the streets here as part of this particular project. Additionally, the city owns the lot at 3420 Rankin. We lovingly call it the Rankin lot. It's currently being used for construction staging. I'll talk about that here in a second. But as part of this project, we're rebuilding this section of Rankin and constructing this parking lot. That's a surface parking lot. It'll have 50 some odd spaces in it. So as part of this project, the improvements that are included is storm drain replacement through the plaza from Daniel to Westminster. We have full paving replacement, which includes sidewalks, lighting, and landscape areas. As I said a while ago, the limits of that is the 66 to 6,800 blocks of Snider Plaza. So that's between, I'm going to try to use both the numerical versions and the names of the streets. So if you're listening for a particular address for your business or your property, hopefully you can kind of tune in on that. From Daniel to Rankin is 66 to 6,800 blocks. The 3,400 block of Daniel, which is in between the 2 alleys on either side of Snider Plaza. The 3,400 block of Rosedale, the area between that eastern alley and the plaza. The 3,400 block of Milton from Hillcrest up through the plaza, including the fountain. The 3,400 block of Westminster, again from Hillcrest up to Snider Plaza. And the 3,400 block of Rankin from the alley on the west side of Snider Plaza over to Hersey. SYB Construction was selected to build this project. We put this out for bid in January and as a competitive sealed proposal. SYB was the winning contractor in this particular instance, which we were thrilled because they have done lots of work for the city. They're currently working for us now. They did the Snider Plaza utility replacement project, so they're intimately familiar with how things work in the plaza, where things are, the tightness of it, how to get around places and be able to work with the patrons and the merchants and the property owners and everybody. So we're very comfortable with their bringing forward this proposal. They council approved their construction contract in March, and their notice to proceed was April 1st. They began mobilizing through this month, and construction will start on May 6th and will continue in phases through the fall of 2025. I'm going to speak to those phases here in just a second, but I wanted to, it's going to be a process to get through all of them. So as part of this, our bid package, we included some suggested phasing and how we wanted to get this built while still being able to keep the plaza and all the merchants able to stay open and have some semblance of movement around there. So SYB actually had a little bit different idea, and frankly, I think probably a better idea because they build things all the time. So it was staff was very comfortable with what they proposed. That's shown on the screen. This is going to be a phased approach. And each one of these phases, you can see the time frame here. I'm going to walk through each phase individually and then some specifics about how we're going to do each phase towards the end. So just bear with me while I get through this. And if you're waiting for your block, don't worry, it's coming. You can see they're working from the south into the middle, the north-south, the outsides into the middle. For the most part, they're going to start work on Daniel and on Westminster. Then they'll move into the 6600 block of Snider Plaza. They'll work this ditch line as well. Then they're going to move into this phase between Milton and Rankin. Then they'll do the section at Milton and all of this piece here. They'll also lastly finish up in the plaza work with this last section of the 6700 block, as well as the little piece on Rosedale. These are general big picture ideas. This is not necessarily where the hard closure will be. I'll speak to that here in just a second, but you can also see there's just a big location, but that we're not going to be encroaching on the property at Tom Thumb or over here at 6565 Hillcrest. There's just for you to be able to see generally where we're going to be. So I'm going to walk through each phase and kind of the timing from that and when you can expect from a calendar perspective when that's going to be. Phase 1A and 1B are going to start at the same time. We're going to close Daniel starting May 6th. Between the two alleys, you'll still be able to access the garage right here. The entrance to the garage at Hilltop Plaza is right here. There's also the entrance on the Haney side, which will of course stay open as well. We're going to get this alley approach done relatively quickly so that can maintain some of the movement through these alleys here. But additionally, there will be, this is going to be a hard closure. So I need to say that again, for each one of these phases, when they're working here, there's a hard closure right here with barricades. Traffic will move up here, turn around like it does now. This is going to be the easiest one because it's pretty much how it operates now with how you get in and out of the plaza, minus you can't come in on Daniel. You'll have to enter the plaza another way, but the circulation of traffic will stay roughly the same. This work is expected to take 3 months, so they'll be working May, June, July, maybe moving in a little bit into August, but this will hopefully be done, weather permitting, before school starts again in August. We wanted to get this piece done because there's a lot of traffic that Daniel carries. Phase 2 will roll in right after that. They're going to work on this ditch line as well and likely roll right into doing this piece of the ditch line that they kind of overlap a little bit. And this one, you can see here, the majority of this phase is going to be taken up in the 6600 block between Daniel and Rosedale. They'll also finish out this ditch line and be done. For this Westminster piece, the closure will be here. They'll just do kind of closures as they're moving and laying pipe and routing traffic through this, but this will be a hard closure for removal and full replacement. For the 6600 block, Daniel will be open and there will be detours set up. You will not be able to come here. There'll be the sidewalk will be barricaded off, and I'll talk again about that here in just a minute to walk you through how we're going to build each one of these so that the sidewalk is open. They're going to completely redo the middle, and then they'll build the sidewalk on the outside. So phase 2 is running from August to November-ish for this 6600 block. The 6800 block is next. That includes this section of Rankin that I mentioned. We need to replace a piece for some utility replacements that had not taken place yet. That also is going to include the start of the fountain. The fountain itself is actually going to be constructed by GPSI. They worked on the design with the city council, with the public, and our landscape architect. And they also self-perform and they build these fountains as well. They've built a couple in and around the city. So we contracted specifically or separately with them to not be a sub under our contractor, but they will work together. The vault is located right about here, so they're for the new fountain, so they'll be working that piece at the same time in advance, all the plumbing pieces before we get to the fountain. That'll start in October and first of end of October, 1st of November, and run into January of 25. We'll roll right into that for phase 4, including the fountain reconstruction. This section on Milton is for the electrical work, how we connect up the lighting and all the electricity for everything, including the fountain, is back on this alley. So I know we have some friends, some neighbors that are back here. We will not be in the alley too long. It will be primarily overhead and buried work. We'll work this section from February to May of 2025. Phase 5, which is the last phase in this portion of the plaza itself work, will be running from June to September. The barricades will be roughly here and here. So when you're here, you'll be coming up. We'll have a turnaround right here, similar to what is existing now on the south end of Daniel, where you flip around to go back up the north side, go back north to up the plaza. We'll just remove a couple of parking spaces right here in order to be able to move traffic freely through here. And this will just operate like a roundabout. I have another slide that you can explaining how some of the phasing is going to work, but it's specifically this phase, so you'll be able to see it. Lastly is phase 6, the rebuilding of the Rankin lot into a parking lot, and this section in Hersey. So they'll be doing this, Rankin, excuse me. They'll be doing this piece of Rankin and then begin demobilizing this side and getting it set up and graded for building of the parking lot. And additionally, through this time, I wanted to highlight or bring to y'all's attention also, there's a bunch of landscaping in this project, but it is not going to be installed until the very end. In fact, it'll probably be installed roughly this time frame, fall of 2025. We are contracting that out separately, and the decision was made to do that so that all the plants are the same age. They're not damaged during construction. All the trees are the same age and size. None of them are damaged during construction because it's a pretty hefty investment for all of this new landscaping we're putting in. So when we finish each phase, it's going to look a little bare because there's not going to be a lot of landscaping there. There's not going to be any at all. And that will happen in a later phase, and these will likely overlap. But at this point, the plaza will be fully open, and all traffic will be moving as normal, minus the section of Rankin that is under construction. So I'm going to walk through a couple of the specific construction sequencing pieces, and I also have another blow up with how we're SYB is intending to construct the sidewalk. So these red lines represent the barricades of the sidewalk. So we're going to put up fencing about 4 to 5 feet off of the face of the building for sidewalk access here. Then you can see the barricades here, the type 3 barricades for each side, so you can't no traffic going through, and they'll build all of the roadway and parking pieces. Maintain the sidewalks for business access, that 4 to 5 feet off the building face. While they're doing that, they're going to construct the storm drain and utilities. They'll remove all the pavement, construct all the storm drain, then do all the paving, and then they'll open up the roadway and parking, and then they'll replace the sidewalk pieces. They'll be, as they're on a sidewalk side, there'll be some, parking won't be available because that's where they're working, but we will work through that with everyone as we get there. Detours will be in place for each phase, with parking available in the open blocks that are not currently under construction. So I do want to reiterate that again. So for each phase, the other sections, the other blocks are open for parking. There will be a couple of removal of parking spaces. You can see that right here. As we are coming up to a barricade, you'll be able to turn back around and go the other way. The other thing with this is each block will be notified in advance of, and we'll notify on social media. We're actually contracting with SunWest Communications to help us with media, Yes, social media and messaging and wayfinding and signage and how to help everyone through this difficult process. Construction is noisy and messy and inconvenient and just a lot of no fun sometimes. So we're doing as much as we can to help alleviate this those that part of it and make it easier for the public and the businesses to move forward through this construction. Now, for the sidewalk piece, this is a little bit better graphic. SYB sent me this one. So it's not by phase, so don't freak out. We're not going to have Daniel and this section closed at one time, but just so you'd be able to see. So when they're working in Daniel, this is where the sidewalk access will be. And the same over here on the on the east side in front of 6600. The sidewalk will be poured about 6 feet from the curb. Orange construction fence is what we're going to be having up to barricade off the work zone. That is easier to relocate. It also keeps it not so where you're not feel like you're hemmed in by a big fence on either side, or like you're walking down a street in Midtown Manhattan and you have to go under a tunnel because the building next to you is under construction. We're wanting to make this be a little bit nicer location to come. Also helps with signage, so you'll be able to see businesses, etc. This 4 to 5 foot of existing sidewalk will remain. There'll be a passing zone every 150 feet, which most of the blocks are under 300 feet anyway, so we'll probably just have one for passing zone, for wheelchair turnarounds, for those kinds of things. And this is the first phase. When that is done, and we're now in this beautiful built section, they'll flip that over, and your walkway will be out here against the curb, and your work zone will be back here. They're going to bridge over each one of these little green guys right here is where a door opening is, and they're going to build ramp, if you will, with a non-slip surface. Might even have orange fence over it so somebody's not stepping off into something beneath them. While they're hand digging, and they're going to do that in increments as they move up the way. So might do one building at a time, do that section. The other thing I want to reiterate is we have reiterated that we need to keep as much access as possible. So I'm going to speak to construction hours here in a minute, but we are totally willing to work around to some degree and work with the property owners for us to be able to do concrete pours and things like that when it is the best time for everyone. Now that doesn't mean that we do have to bring in concrete bulk at a time, so we can't have little pieces here and there, but we can coordinate across the block for getting that piece done. We're trying to work as efficiently, as quickly as possible so we can get in and get out and have a pretty beautiful block done in as short a time as possible. And sometimes that, again, construction's inconvenient, so there's no way around it, but just know that we're trying to do our best with that. So speaking of that, construction impacts, I've got a couple of slides for this, just from logistical perspective. Staging and material storage is going to be at 3420 Rankin, the Rankin lot. That's where we had set up for construction staging for the utility project as well. SYB has a construction trailer there. They did not last time. They will this time, and it will be manned with the project manager on site at all times. SYB is on the line with us too, and I'll introduce them here in a second so you can and get their contact information. But their permitted working hours are standard city working hours, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays. However, we have included some off-hour times for working for this contract so that we can have them work around off-hour concrete pours. So it's the summer and everybody's closed up shop by 7 o'clock. It's still light outside, and we go ahead and pour a bunch of sidewalk because there's not as many people there in the evening as there is during the day. Those kinds of things. Saturday work, you will be notified in advance by a hand-delivered notification, as well as via email if we have, and social media. If we have your email address, you will send out a mass email for those particular pieces. If you would like to be included in that, please drop us your email address in the chat, or you can send it to me or Amanda, and we'll make sure that we are sending out information as best we can. The best way, honestly, for a notification of this kind is my inspectors hand deliver notifications and hand it to the property owner. That way that we physically know that it's been delivered. As I mentioned, Saturday work and after hours work is approved in order for us to be able to expedite this process. And that may be sometimes outside of business hours. But again, it requires prior approval. Wayfinding signs will be in place. I mentioned SunWest Communications. We're working with them on a strategy for how to and what that would look like. So I don't have specific details yet, but that will be forthcoming. The other part of that is a parking management. So the wayfinding signs with what's in this block and how you're going to get down to half shells if you're wanting to have lunch, for example. Additionally, we are discussing parking management. It's under consideration by the staff and city council. There's not a lot of on-street parking impacted right now with the section of Daniel that we're doing first through the summer months. So that gives us a better opportunity to get more time and come back to you with a better strategy for that, for construction management, or excuse me, parking management during construction. So stay tuned for that. There'll be more details to come this summer. And a couple of just housekeeping things. Please adhere to all construction signs and barricades. They are there for your safety. There's a reason that we require them, and everyone is used to them at this point. But also, please obey all the detour signs. I can't tell you how many times people are like, oh, I'm just going to slide around there. This is a very, nobody's coming. I can just move real fast. This is a very congested location. And we're going to have flaggers out. We're going to have detour signs, and please be courteous of all the people that are working out there. They're just trying to do their jobs on a day-to-day basis and be able to go home to their families at the end of the day. So safety is of utmost importance to the city and to SYB. So we appreciate your help with that effort. Please do not disturb any construction staking or flags. Those are also there for a reason. We stake out the job and they flag and mark things. There's paint on the sidewalk for them to be able to not hit something, those kinds of things. Everything that's going to be out there is going to be for this construction job. So please be mindful of that. Lastly, and very importantly, please, we need help, especially from the business owners and the patrons, to keep the alleys clear for deliveries and for sanitation pickup. Sanitation schedule is not changing. In fact, maybe ramped up a little bit because people are needing to come in one side. We need to keep that area clear for deliveries. We're working with parking enforcement, again, potentially parking management, and on how that needs to happen. So a lot of times delivery trucks don't go down the alley in the first place because somebody's blocking it, or they feel like there's not enough space for them. And we're actively trying to alleviate that situation in advance. So please, please, please keep the alleys clear for deliveries and sanitation. And I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again because it's important. We make every effort to complete this important work as quickly and as courteously as possible. Construction is messy. Construction is dirty. It's noisy. It's inconvenient. And it's no fun when you're in the middle of it, unless you're a contractor. Then it's really fun. But the end result is so worth it. This has been a long time coming, and I'm so excited about the possibilities for this project and what the plaza is going to look like. And I so appreciate all the input that all of you have given to be able to make this project move forward. And the council appreciates it as well. They've been excellent at providing excellent guidance on how what this community wants to see. And your patience and understanding through this process is greatly appreciated. Lastly, before we get to questions, I'm going to ask SYB to turn on their camera. City of University Park staff, Mr. Mark Rusha is the main construction inspector with this job. Chris Jackson is the other construction inspector that will be backing him up. We have another construction inspector, Kevin Oates, as well. He primarily handles all the right-of-way stuff. You'll see him around a lot too. Our project engineer is Gabby Prochi, and I'm the director of engineering, Katie Barron, and all of our phone numbers are here. Also on the screen before you, Logan Bennett with SYB is our project superintendent. Project manager is Colton Trout, and the assistant project manager is Tony Turner. Colton and Tony are going to be in the construction trailer and available for questions. This is the specific phone number on the screen for this project if you have any questions. I would encourage you to start with city staff first. Anybody up there first. But if there's something specific that you need an immediate answer to, that is the phone number for this project that is SYB is manning. We appreciate all their efforts. Like I said, they've worked with the city. I've worked with Logan's the whole 5 years that I've been here at the city almost. And he's known about this job for a while and it's finally coming up. So I think we work really well together and we're looking forward to this project. So that's all that I have. I'm going to ask Amanda to come back on and we have time for questions.
Thank you, Katie. As we're waiting for questions to come in, I would just say that I did get one question through the question box, and that question was a good one. It says, will the meeting on April 30th cover the same information as today? And the answer is yes. Everything, the presentation that Katie just went through is going to be identical to the presentation that we do in person. So we do have another session that's next Tuesday at 5 p.m. If you wanted to join us in person. But we love that we have this format available. Right now we've got about 50 people on the call. So let me just look through the list right quick and see if anybody's got a hand raised. Oh, I do see Jane. I'm going to ask you to unmute here. You should be prompted and then you'll have the floor.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for this presentation. It looks as if you've put a lot of thought and work into this planning, and I really appreciate it. I'm a resident that lives on Rosedale west of the plaza, which is not going to be affected. However, our portion of Rosedale is one way right now. Is there any thought to making it two-way during construction, which would help us get to our alley a little easier?
I'm going to step back here so we can talk about that. Actually, I'm going to come to this one because Rosedale's right here. So thank you, Jane, for the question. Yes, there has been. This will likely be affecting during this phase particularly, where this is barricaded off and you can't actually get out this way. And we'll have to think about it and see what we need to do with this. The street's pretty narrow. That's one of the reasons that it's one way as well.
Yes.
But we would prefer to have, we're going to have two-way, at least in this section. And I'm going to work with the Public Works Department and the Traffic Department on how best to sign that. And it may be that we just kind of have it like this is local traffic only when you're turning on the block. We cover over the one-way signs for those are Rosedale, because I also don't want you to be inundated with people trying to get somewhere that they can't actually go anyway. So one of the things that we do is advanced signing for like it's local traffic only. This is not a through street. You will have to be turning around. So that is under consideration and something we'll have to do right here in order to be taking advantage of those parking spaces.
Well, also when you're doing Daniel, because Daniel, it looked as if that Daniel construction will barricade the alley on the south end.
So there, that was one of the one things I wanted to highlight again. Hang on, I've lost my mouse here. Here we go. So I lost the bunny there for a second. The goal is
right there. Yeah.
Yes. So the goal is to get this section first. And
Yes.
SYB's taking notes now because I know we need to get this done so that this alley is not blocked. Same for this end as well.
Okay.
And I don't believe that will be a problem. We will work through that with them on how to get, because the alley approach is a little bit different. And it's strange because it's kind of offset right here. So there may be a portion of time where this is just not available. We will notify you if there's like, this is closed. And if that's the case, then we're gonna for sure do something with the traffic pattern through here. So you live right here. Yes, Ms. Basket?
Just a little bit west. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, a little bit east.
Okay. So
no, right there. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Now we all know we can go visit you.
Anytime.
The goal is to be able to keep the alleys clear as we can still run sanitation, because there's still, all of these
Yeah.
businesses are still going to have sanitation. So we'll be working this very heavily, and you'll be notified.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Jane. I'm going to go ahead and mute you back. We did have a question come in through the chat, Katie, and it's asking about the after hours work. So could you revisit that? This question says, will the after hours work be 24/7 or overnight? Just some clarity about what that means.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for that question. And my practice run through, I had that on there, and I neglected to say it. So there will be no approved work between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. period. If, well, maybe I'm going to say 6 because it's really hard to get everybody up and it's dark anyway. But overnight work is not approved for this. After hours work is primarily just outside of the 7 to 6. When we were doing the utility project, we needed to do a really early morning water tie-in for the medical plaza because of the surgeries that they have ongoing and everything. So we actually did work really early with them, but we notified everybody that was going to happen and that we were going to be there. And we're so sorry, this is a one-time deal. We're not anticipating any of those. It would primarily be Saturday work, maybe a Sunday morning concrete pour, not too early. The goal is to impact the businesses as less as possible. We recognize that this is a residential neighborhood. There's lots of people that live immediately adjacent to this, and we're trying to be mindful of that as well.
Okay, thanks, Katie. The questions are trickling in now, so give me just a sec as we go
that's
through
great.
this. Okay, there was a question about getting added to a distribution list. Yes, I see your email and I'll get you added there. Another question says, has there been any discussion on making Westminster one-way westbound for one block, the south side of Tom Thumb? Westminster
Okay,
one-way westbound for one block.
This one right here. So one way westbound for one block. We can certainly consider it. The main problem with Westminster is how narrow that street is. And by the time they are building just one side, we consider doing Daniel a half at a time because it's a little bit wider and you can still keep one lane through. Westminster is too narrow to close one side and be working like kind of adjacent because they're setting things up. It just complicates it. I can discuss this with SYB again if it gets to be a problem. One of the
Katie, I'm going to interject. So this person is asking about not just during construction, but a permanent change. That would be a bigger conversation.
That is a bigger conversation.
Yeah, sorry, there was additional commentary that came in.
That's okay. That's okay. Sorry to misunderstand the question. It actually has come up because the Tom Thumb, when you come in, the parking lot's going to be open, but when you come in off of Snider, obviously when you come in right here, you come back out and turn back around the other way. We're going to work with the property owner about this. We will not be working on their property, but we're going to work with them to be able to keep this parking lot open for the patrons of the parking lot as well. So if there was another question about that, I hope I preemptively answered for you. But regarding Westminster one way, we have planned this. We, the city, I'm working with the Public Works Department with the Traffic Department about an overarching traffic study for how we could potentially improve, and we can definitely add that to the list. There's several locations where the streets are just so narrow, it's hard to get down, and this is one of them. Similarly to why Rosedale is one way outbound for the Bubba's line. So, those are things that we will definitely consider once construction is done.
Okay. Thank you, Katie. Another question, this one is very specific. So it says, there's a green line into the alley behind the building at 3420 Milton. So that's the alley between the residential building and Penny Pomodoro. And the question is, what is that for?
That is for the electrical line that feeds. So the city's meter for all electricity is right here on this corner. There's potential, we're still working with Encore about if that location is big and it provides enough power source for us to be able to use that. And if not, then we're gonna come to the pole down here. This will be aerial through here. And it will be a minimum closure. We're not going to bury any electric lines in the alley. We've already dug up the alley. We're not interested in doing that again. However, when we get to here, this will be trench line. So there might be a time where it's like there's an overhead truck that's blocking the way. I know the residents that live right there have already reached out to me specifically about some questions about that. And we will notify everybody in advance if it's something that you can only go out, like if they're working right here and you have to exit this way, you will know. SYB did a great job of providing access for these particular residents because they exit, and down here when we were doing alleys, they exit right onto where we were working. So it's not going to be, it's all aerial piece. I don't think it's buried at all. And it may not actually even be down here. We may be able to just be right here on the corner.
I realized I muted myself as I was dealing with some things in the chat. So I think that answers the question. Thank you, Katie. Let me just check again to see if there are any raised hands. I don't see anyone that wants to visit with us that way. Let me check the question box again. Oh, here we go. We got new questions that came in. Okay, hang tight. Says, any consideration to restricting parking to one side of street on Milton between the Plaza and Dickens?
Not currently, but I think at this juncture, as we start this process, it's going to be kind of a work in progress, if you will. We are currently doing this. We have some construction happening over in the Miracle Mile, and we're kind of, something's not working, so then we try something else, and if that's not working, we try something else. That's definitely something that we can take into consideration, one-way streets or one side of the street parking or something like that. If it becomes really congested, we did some partial closures for parking when we did the utility project, just to be able to get trucks in for construction material. We did that on Rankin. We can consider that as part of this, and I'm meeting with SYB very soon, this week or the first of next week, to kind of work through some of those particulars. But as of right now, it's not Milton between Hersey and Dickens, but you're welcome to shoot me an email about that, and I can visit with the traffic department about that as well.
Thanks, Katie. So there is a question about the timing of the construction project and how the schedule and timing got laid out. So it says, is there a reason why it was chosen that the fourth quarter we'd start inside the Snider Plaza demolition? There's concern about that being a really pivotal time for the businesses where they're going to make most of their money during that fourth quarter. And so they're just asking about the timing and why certain things were chosen at certain times, basically.
Okay.
Can you speak to that?
Yes, for me, that's a two-parter, Amanda. So first I'm going to speak to the timing of this and starting what we're doing now is kind of twofold. The first one, this was always going to be an 18 to 24 month project, and we're hoping to impact only one holiday season, and be done by next fall. I'm absolutely convinced that we will have no problem doing that, if not beating that. So from a timing perspective, we then looked at constructability perspective, starting at the ends and working inwards. Part of it is related to how the drainage works. So if you can look at the screen, all of the water is going this way, and you need to build drainage from the downstream up. So we typically would start here and then just move up this way. But in order to expedite this, SYB committed to having kind of working from the ends, from the outside in. Daniel works really well during the summer months because this does carry a lot of traffic between the school year with everybody going over to the middle school SMU students, just access to the Plaza summer. Y'all all know, everybody asks me why we can't just do this in the summer, and we'd have the whole city torn up in the summer. And sometimes we just can't do all of that. But in this case, it was able for us to get this particular piece open and done, get access to the parking garage. We really want to encourage people to utilize that garage parking. There's the first hour's free. It's covered. It's handy and convenient. And that we'll be able to have better access to that when we started this way. Everything else was just more how we were needing to compress the schedule. So that the phasing just worked out that way. I realized that is impacting a holiday season, and we will do our best. That's the other reason we're working with Sunwest Communications for potential pop-up things and potential fun activities that we can do, and how we can best keep people and advertise for people to come to the Plaza and patronize businesses, especially in the holiday season. The tree lighting, I believe, is still going to be happening. It's just going to be relocated to a different location. So there'll still be some celebrations related to those things during construction, but we did consider lots of different things. So I don't want to be flippant about it in any way, but in order to get this going and really only impact one season, this was the best way that we could do that.
And this business owner is in the 6600 block. So the follow-up question is the timing for that block specifically, starting there. And Shannon, we can also talk with you offline if you want to have a conversation. We're happy to do that. I know there's frustration there. So, but Katie, do you want to talk about the 6600 block specifically?
Yes. So being able to, this one actually will, the drainage starts right here. So this was not drainage related, but it was related to some of the ongoing construction activity that's happened here. And then being able to keep the traffic moving through Snider Plaza in a very specific way, where we're not kind of piecemealing back and forth, so that people get used to moving down the way. It's also the closest to the garage. So once this section of Daniel is done, and people can, if you can't park here, it's the closest one. You can park here and come patronize the businesses here without, as we're kind of moving into this construction piece. That was another part that staff considered, and frankly SYB too, like just from a people movement perspective, to keep the pedestrians safe as well. I hope that is it's an answer. But
I know it's a difficult thing, and as Katie said a number of times, like we know it's going to be a challenge, but we want to do everything we can to work with everyone and do it as smoothly as we can. So, and Shannon, I just saw you send your contact information, so we can follow up with you separately about that. Let me check to see if any other hands are raised in the meantime. Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments right now. We can give it another minute. And Katie, do you mind putting up on the screen one more time the contact page, just as we're waiting for other questions and comments to come in? Oftentimes it'll hit me after I've left the conversation. I'll go, oh yeah, I should have asked about this or that. So let's just leave that screen up so that if people want to jot that down, and if you think of something after we conclude, you can reach out to us separately. Oh, okay. We got another question came in. It says, is this a presentation available online? Actually, I don't think we've put your PowerPoint because we were putting the final, like finishing touches on it just today. So, but we can make the presentation available online. I think that's an easy thing to do. Um, Katie, don't you agree? We could put your
Yes,
presentation up
and
there,
we were planning on posting this
the
video
video.
that we recorded this. So we'll be posting this as well, and the slideshow will be the slide deck will be made available as well.
Yeah. And I would also say we have a shortcut to the web page on our site that's like all things Snyder Plaza. If you go to uptexas.org/Snyder Plaza, it will take you to the page where everything's been living for a really long time. It's got the history of the meetings that have come before this meeting and kind of how we got to this place. So it's a good resource. Okay, I got a couple of comments, thank yous. So yeah, you're welcome. That's what we're here for. So thank
Yeah.
you guys for engaging with us today. We appreciate it.
Yes, Susan, I can talk to you offline about the one-way piece. You know how to find me. So, the other thing I would say is the mock-up that the city built back last fall, actually fall before last, part that's still at the Rankin lot. There's still a piece of it that's up. So if you haven't been by and you are curious to see what the improvements are going to be, there's going to be pavers, the landscaping areas. We had to remove the tree in advance, so there's not a tree there, but there would be normally. What the light poles look like, et cetera, the paver colors. That's all still there, and I'd encourage you to go see what it's going to look like. It's going to be a beautiful project, and we're really excited about it.
Okay, well, we are just about out of time, and I don't see any other comments or questions. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. And if you again, we'll do this again on Tuesday at 5 p.m. an in-person session for those that weren't able to make it online today. So we just appreciate you joining us to learn about the project.
Yes, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And let us know if you have any additional questions. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks,
Okay.
SYB.
All right. I'm going to conclude the broadcast. All right. Bye, Katie.
Bye.